let's just hop right into it. Kim, Marcus, you got to see Horizon in action, correct? And I want to hear all about it. What's Aloy up to, gameplay wise, what's going on, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we were treated to two pretty extensive hands-off demos, and in the first one, we got to walk around the town and kind of see how they've improved character models, the crowds, really brought more life into the settlements that you're going to visit, and also kind of got an idea of the side quests, the atmosphere, more of the story beats. And then the second hands-off demo was a fight against that Slitherfang, that huge snake that you might have seen in
Mm.
trailers. That is just Marcus can attest to this. As soon as that fight came on screen, I just lit up because I'm like, this is what Horizon is all about. These big battles and having all these tools at your disposal. And seeing how it's all going to pan out. So that's what we saw, on top of being able to talk to Gorilla kind of about their approach. It's Aloy. Ooh, I almost called her. What's going on here?
Alloy?
Hey, girl,
Hey.
hey. She's feeling the pressure going into this game. I mean, she obviously, has proved herself, as Gorilla has proved themselves as the developer of, Horizon Zero Dawn, of switching genres. It's kind of interesting to me because when I talk in the cover stories, they're both kind of in this weird place where everybody, they have had all this success suddenly, and now, like, Aloy knows, like, she's got a big mission ahead of her, but she's feeling that pressure. And then on top of it, she's kind of getting torn between, she has, this mission to head west, but, like, as we saw in our demo, she's meeting up with familiar faces from the first game that you played, and her friends are like, hey, I need help too with this and that. And so she's torn kind of between, like, the main mission and trying to help people. And one thing, if you're really into story, that Gorilla stressed was they wanted people to feel more attached to characters this time around. They thought they could do a better job with side quests, companions, and making
Interesting.
that, yeah,
Yeah.
making you feel closer to them and having that brought up. So, you know, as me and Marcus saw, she runs into quite a few old and new faces, and she's kind of, like I said, torn on how much she wants to help, and trying to be also on her main mission of, like, hey, I gotta figure out what's going on because there's this that is, like, rendering the land inhabitable. It's killing sweet little animals and all
Mm,
that. And then you have tribes that can, like, override machines that are, you know, attacking. And then on top of it, there's this huge storm coming in. And what the heck does that mean? And girl's got a lot on her plate,
I
to say
should
the
say so.
least.
Yeah. Marcus, what did you when you get to see it? Because you're a fan of the series, right?
Yeah.
What were your impressions? What's some of the new things, maybe gameplay wise, that people can look forward to?
Well, I guess right off the bat, it's gorgeous, which
Hmm.
the first game still very much is. I was playing it, like I revisited the complete edition on PS5 just to kind of get my feet wet again and forgot, like, oh yeah, this is a beautiful looking game. This game looks amazing, and I think it feels a lot more lived in. We got to go through one of the first settlements that you'll visit in a game called Chain Scrape, and they made it a point to kind of show off just the advanced, like, crowd AI and how you'll see NPCs in the back. Like, it's a lot more dense, and you'll see people moving about their day. We went to, like, a bar or a pub or something and saw, like, a bunch of them kind of singing at a
Yep.
table and, like, having a good old, like, drinking game or doing something. And it just feels a lot more alive compared to the first game, especially like those settlements and stuff. So it just feels more inviting and more interesting to just explore. In terms of the combat, they've shown off the new kind of focus pulse ability where you can kind of use her little Bluetooth piece thing to scan for ledges, which is really nifty. So you can look at things and just highlight the grab points, which also kind of cuts down on maybe them having to model, like, obvious grabbing points, since you can kind of scan for it.
Yeah.
But also with the machine scanning, it's a lot more in depth where you can highlight specific parts that you're looking for because they really wanted to push with the crafting, which is another kind of shakeup with this game. Is you have a workbench now instead of doing it in the menu.
Oh, okay.
Um, Instead of using the metal shards to buy everything, everything's kind of dependent on specific machine parts, and that's to kind of
Mhm.
push players to hunt down specific machines if they want something.
Got it.
One thing with
S
that too is you can make a quest now if you want a specific part, and it'll give you a path to where that machine is.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know where to find this thing I need." You can now, make these little quests for yourself on the side to really hunt down what you need and
I like
get
that.
better gear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's cool because you can scan individual machine parts too, and it'll
Hmm.
tell you if this is a quest item. So you'll be like, "Oh, I do need those antlers. I'm gonna," and you can tag it, and it'll highlight it in a different color, like it'll be purple. So you can, it just makes it easier to find, especially during the fight. Because one thing with the last game is that when you're like taking these machines apart, sometimes the parts can be kind of hard to find on the ground. Like you're kind of hovering over a bunch of icons, like, "Is this the thing I need?" Or is this time they stand out a lot better when you knock them
Hmm.
off
Mhm.
post fight. So that's a really nice kind of quality of life thing. But you also just get more information on the machines themselves, like the way they kind of divide, like, hey, this is what this is weak to, this is their resistances. There's like different tabs you can scroll through now, and just the way it's presented is a lot clearer than the first game was. So it just makes hunting machines it just better. It's just a better experience in
Mhm.
general. So I'm pretty excited about that.
They
Cool.
made the HUD less cluttered because of
Good.
feedback that they had received. And so you can always go in the options and put more out on there if you want, but it's really a lot clearer. And I felt like me and Marcus were just impressed by just, being able to find what you need, but having it very minimal um,
I think
with
especially in a
construction.
post Ghost of Tsushima world
Yep.
where they really harped on keeping you immersed and as minimal HUD as possible. I love hearing that, especially for a similar game like Horizon, right? Different, but it's open world, Sony exclusive type of thing.
Yeah, it defaults to that too. Because I, again, revisiting the first game, like I've been playing the Frozen Wilds expansion, which I actually didn't back in its when it first released.
Hmm.
I was like, oh man, well, I don't remember the HUD being this cluttered. I had to go in the menu and
Yeah.
kind of like turn it off a bit because I was like, this is a little too much. And I think it's because I've been spoiled by games like Ghost. So to hear them say like, oh, it defaults to a more dynamic HUD because the only thing you see is just the objective kind of compass up top, and then the little quick select crossbar in the bottom left, and that's it. But they said
Wow.
like, "Oh, if you swipe up on the, touchpad, you can bring up other like things like objectives or quests that you're currently on, but other than that, that's all you see, and it makes a huge difference."
It sounds like they've learned a little bit from their cousins over at Sucker Punch then.
What's also
Yeah,
nice,
they did a lot of quality of life improvements,
yeah.
beyond just like what we expected to kind of with new tools and all that. What I found interesting was just making sure that they listened to feedback from the first game and tried to implement that. And then on top of it, they had all these ideas for that first game that couldn't fit in. And so when they came to make this one, they're like, all right, let's try to get in all the ideas that we wanted but couldn't do in that first one and bring some new, tools into the equation.
Yeah. I'm did they because I think the industry looks at the first game with a little bit of uh, maybe not what if because it did really well, but like being juxtaposed against Breath of the Wild, I think hurt it to a certain extent in
Oh yeah.
2017 when the first one came out. Did they talk about any of that or like their expectations or excitements about kind of having their own? Well, I guess February stacked, but not necessarily in that same way.
I think they spoke in general about like, they paralleled Aloy's experience with the studio's own of like, "Hey, we came out the gate with this surprise success, and now the pressure's on, like, how do you build upon that?" Much like Aloy's like, "Hey, now she's the savior, and she has to live up to this title that she has now, and it's a big weight on their shoulders." Like, the studio's kinda going through that, and so, like Kim said, that it was a lot of, like, taking a bunch of feedback seriously and trying to blow up the sequel as big as possible, like, not really just resting on their laurels again, like, really trying to make this, better than the first game in every possible way. So, in that sense, that's kind of where the studio's at philosophically. It's like, we're just like, "Hey, we wanna live up to standard that we set. So, like they were surprised with how successful the first game was, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they went into it knowing that they have a sequel. Like, the first game hinted heavily toward that, obviously, but they still didn't expect, I think, the degree to which people like talk about Horizon and go back. And, I even remember those first trailers that they had shown, and everyone's like, this is just like a no-brainer. These big, like, animal like machines, like everybody wants to fight in there. But I think they really work too on making sure like combat is, more refined this time around. You're using more of the tools that you have and not depending on one things. And I feel like the AI on the machines are even smarter than before. Like, me and Marcus got to see that Slither thing fight, which we'll definitely get more into because it was certainly the highlight of what we saw. But like, you know, one of my tactics in Horizon Zero Dawn was to stand on ledges and just like spam a bunch of arrows from afar, because I'm just like, well, I don't need to be getting down and with those machines if I don't have to. And this, like, the Slitherfang just came up and like whacked the ledge down on me. You can't do that. I think there's a lot of smart enhancements this time around.
Cool. That sounds amazing. Anything else you want to touch on about like that combat section you guys watched?
Yeah, I think it is. Me and Marcus can both attest to this. It's the variety of how you can approach things, and I think Horizon definitely Zero Dawn definitely had that, but they've really upped it here. And being able to scan the different parts and see like you can disable certain parts, you can knock parts off and use them against the enemy, which I think is really cool.
That's dope.
There's
Anything
like
specific?
there's
The Slither Fang, you can knock off the because it shoots lightning from its tail. It's got
yeah.
like it's like a rattlesnake crossed with a cobra, basically. They pointed out that you could knock that off and use it against it, which you could do that in the first game with some of the bigger machines. Like some
Hmm.
of them had like turrets on them and stuff like that. So they emphasize there will be a lot more of that in this game.
Hell yeah, that sounds awesome. Um, what about This is always a weird one, but it always gets me excited for a new Sony like PlayStation game. They talk about how they're going to support the DualSense at all.
Not unless I'm forgetting, not that I
They
recall, unless it was general like
They
they'll
talked
be
about it earlier in the cycle, so we didn't dive into it, but obviously, like, you're gonna feel the friction of the bow
yeah.
Okay.
as you go and stuff like that. They're definitely, incorporating that stuff,
Okay.
That's like the go-to thing for the dual sense is like,
right?
does your game have a bow and arrow? Well, you're
Yeah.
gonna feel it.
Yeah. Does it have rain? Cool. You're gonna feel it on there too. Okay. Cool. I was curious if they added anything else to that because I always get excited for, especially after like Astro's Playroom. I'm like, okay, what is it? What else are the first parties gonna do?
Yeah.
Right.
Um.
I
Cool.
think also something that's important to remember, they're keeping a lot of this game under wraps. Like,
Yes.
the story, everything, like, they are very, very careful with how much they will say and how much will be revealed. So that was like a little bit of the challenge of like trying to figure out where is this go, because like that's part of Horizon though, is uncovering those mysteries for yourself. And I remember with that first game, like, everybody was so excited when they started connecting all the dots to where certain places were. And but even with Aloy and where she's going, I mean, they've really kept it like very, very close to their chests of what's going on, what places she'll visit. They've confirmed, like, obviously San Francisco as a locale. I mean, I think we're like, well, how far this Forbidden West? They're like, what does that mean? They challenge themselves to think, what does that mean and where will you be? I think me and Marcus saw like an old tech campus for that Slitherfang fight that
Oh,
was
cool.
turned in. Yeah. So I mean, there's a bunch of cool ideas I think that they can go with, and I'll be interested to see just the actual variety. Actually, me and Marcus, they also opened the world map for us at one point just to show us like, here's like this first area and how big it is, and then like this huge, like, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that they're not showing, and I think that's kind of cool because the game comes out in February, and there's still, like I said, so much I think we don't
Soon.
know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
they even teased that the machines themselves, because I asked, if you notice a lot of the new machines kind of have a bit of a prehistoric theme to them,
Mhm.
and they teased there might be some sort of narrative reason for that, and that it wasn't just. I mean, some of it
Happy
they said
chance.
was like, "Oh well, they're cool.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs are cool," but they're like, but there's more to it than just dinosaurs are cool.
Kim, you were gonna add to dinosaurs are cool?
Yeah, the skill tree has been like completely revamped, and it now features like 6 different play styles, that you can mix and match and play. Like they wanted to make it flexible, so like if you want to focus on hacking, you can, or if you want to be a little mix between being somebody who focuses on traps and stealth and all, like you can
Mm.
mix and match how much you want, and then
Can
those
I
valor.
just and only focus on the paraglider? Can I just have a whole skill tree for the
I mean,
paraglider?
I wouldn't blame you for that, but yeah, there's definitely more depth to them, and every specialization I think we saw has like 20 to 30 skills.
Yeah,
There's your active skills, you know, your passive boost, which are like low health regen. And each tree has its own valor surge. The one that we saw was the power shot, so it ups like your shot damage for a few different, like for 3 or 4 shots, and then that can also be leveled up for even greater effect later. So like there's a lot of different tiers to different skills, and I think, like I said, the game changer for me is going to be how the outfits can mix in with the trees, because you can take certain skills past their level cap, which is really cool. Like I said
Oh.
before, like raising those stats like 300%, and um,
If
you
you
know,
pair it with the right outfit then?
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
You're pretty much like stacking
yeah.
essentially.
But it's
So
not if I switch from cost or from outfit A to B, those skill points are still in that tree, right? It's just if I have a certain outfit on, they can be boosted, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah,
You'll still have the like the unlocked skills. Yeah, like pretty much the outfits are like, hey, you can push it over the limit.
Over 9,000, as the internet
Yeah,
would say.
yeah.
oh
That's what they
yeah.
said too. It was odd.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Well, Kim, I think, no shade at anyone else, but I think you're one of the biggest Horizon fans in the office. Like, is this the things you want to hear from this experience? Like, is this more exciting to you? Do you have concerns? Anything like that?
I think that all this stuff sounds good to me. I think like I said, when it all came together in the end and we saw that Slitherfang fight, I was like, this is what the Horizon experience is about. And it got me really excited. Like I said, there's a lot of it unanswered questions though, as I noted, like they are keeping a lot of stuff. And I hope it's just like, because there's really exciting stuff ahead that they don't want to spoil for us. But I'm curious, like, how much variety there is to the world. I am curious, like, where they will take Aloy now. And, it made me happy that they listened to people about having those side characters play a stronger role, because that was something I thought they could have done better in that first game. So I'm optimistic about it. Everything looks good. But until, I got to see how it all comes together. But the combat stuff and just the variety in it really makes me excited to see how I'm going to play and build my character.
Cool. Marcus, feeling similar?
Yeah. Like I said, I love that first game. Everything I saw here looked exciting. All the new changes and quality of life improvements are they look really cool and smartly implemented. Even the workbench, which I was kind of worried about because it seemed like that would be a step down from being able to do it in the menu. But even they justify that saying, well, it plays into our desire to make the settlements destinations for players and making them more interesting and putting interesting side diversions. So to have
Mhm.
something that draws them back to those settlements via the workbench is kind of the reasoning for it.
Interesting.
Uh, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like I can get behind that. Like everything just feels really well thought out. Like Kim mentioned, like the fights that we saw, like that Slitherfang battle was amazing, and like I just want to get in there and and explore. Like, I adored the
Mhm.
first game. I love that was one of my favorite open worlds because it felt like the world itself was one giant mystery,
Yep.
and it felt really well crafted, and like the clues that you found. Because all I wanted to do was figure out like what happened basically to the world, and I'm still amazed kind of that the game kind of stuck the landing when it
Mhm.
explained everything. Like I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can get behind that. So it like kind of showed me like, okay, they are good at building lore at least
Mhm.
for this universe. So I'm excited to see an expansion on that. So yeah, February, what is it, 24? 20 or 18? Everything's in
18.
I s-
February now.
it is
So
February. I don't think because Elden Ring's the
I'm
28th,
looking.
oh
right?
yeah, it's like
February
mid-February.
18th.
Okay,
Okay,
sweet. Because I was like,
18. I
I
said
know
it.
there is some difference in days there. I was like, please don't be 4 though. Please
Yes.
Plug. Video game release schedule 2022.
go check it
Hey.
What's
out. If you're as
up?
confused as we are, go check it out.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, February 18th can't come fast enough. I'm super pumped for
Yeah,
this.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, we're gonna go on a holiday break here pretty soon, and you know, I'm just gonna wrap up my games list. But then once we're back, whew, here we go, 2022 kicking off right. So, very much looking forward to that. Thank you both for those insights. If you're curious and want more, do we have anywhere we can send the good people looking for more Horizon goodness here, folks? Kim or Marcus?
Yeah,
Marcus has a lot of stuff coming up.
we have
Cool.
a cover story hub that I don't think that'll be live by the time this airs.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, in the next couple weeks, we have a couple of written features going up, kind of highlighting the machines and whatnot. So look forward to those. And yeah, of course, the magazine itself, Kim wrote an awesome cover story about everything that we saw from those 2 demos. So if you're a Game Informer subscriber, get ready for that. And if you're not a subscriber, you should
You
do
should
something
subscribe.
about that. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a redesign that just came out
Yep.
as well.
You don't
Yeah.
say,
Oh.
Van Aiken.
Yeah. So GameInformer.com/Forbidden West for all of our exclusive coverage and, of course, the cover story. You can see awesome Horizon news and see our shiny new magazine and logo. It looks phenomenal.
Yes.
So
Check it out.
go check it out, please.